You all are welcome for the today lecture. The topic is TCP/IP protocol stack. It's a 1 hour lecture. So we can pay our attention for the lecture outline. During this 1 hour lecture, I will discuss about the standardized protocol architecture and OSI stack, TCP/IP protocol stack, then network interface layers, and internet layer, transport layer, and the application layer. Those are the major headings. Today I will focus during this 1 hour lecture. Firstly, we will pay our attention for the protocol. What do you mean by protocol? If you pay your attention for this slide, you can get some idea about the protocol. It is a kind of standard that allows entities from different systems to communicate. Blind people also have some communication method. They know they have some specific protocol. So you and me have another protocol. We are using some language, and with the support of that language, if you understand the terms and other things, we can do the communication. And similarly, different entities can accomplish their conversation or the communication with having configured format. It's kind of standard that allow for the different system to communicate, what we call as a protocol. It shares the convention for the communication information. Different protocols are there. So you also have some experience with your hands. You can do some communications, or with your by using your eyes also. Why you can do the communication. So if the both party have negotiations, or if they know the meaning of the different actions, then they can do the communication with having their protocol. So different protocols you can define, and based on that protocol, you can share some informations. That's the idea of the protocol. Then we will focus on the two types of well-known protocol which are used in the communication, especially the data networks. We use two types of protocol, as you know. There's a message, just give me. As you know, TCP/IP and the OSI. This TCP/IP widely implemented, especially in the internet. And the second protocol standard we call the OSI. So less used, but still it's using kind of conceptual model. I will show the model, and then some layers are integrated to define this TCP. Basically, the foundation was the OSI, and based on that, different applications were developed. In that time, some layers might merge. Actually, these architectures partition the network functionality into layers based on different functionalities. If you use two devices or something, just assume one device has some function and another device has some function. So if both functions are similar, you can put that activities under one layer, something like that. If you experience that this machine has done some encryption or something, the other device also does the encryption, then you can put that functionality in the same layer. Based on the functionality, we can partition the architecture into several layers, and then based on that layer, we can implement the protocol. As you know, this OSI, what we call the Open System Interconnection Model. This method or standards were introduced in 1984 It's kind of primary architecture model for the intercommunications or intercomputer communications, mean to help the vendors to create the interoperable networks, devices, and software. This kind of conceptual model, as you know, composed of the 7 layers. Once we go to the figure, you can identify the layers and each specifying the particular network functions. And it describes how information from the software application in one computer move through the network medium to the software application in the another computer. That's the idea. This OSI model describes how information from a software application in one computer move through the network medium to software application in the another computer. As example, you can see the protocol stack for this OSI. It has 7 layers. You can see here in the physical layer, we handle the bits-wise. In the data link layer, we treat the data as a frame. In the network layer, we treat the data as a packet. The transport layer, we segment or we refer the data as a segments. And this application presentation sessions layer, our information we assume as a data. So each layers have some interface, and in between these 2 layers to communicate, they have defined the protocols, different protocols. For example, physical layer can communicate with the another physical layer with having appropriate protocol. So keep in mind that each layers will do their communication with having the configured or well-defined mechanism, what we call the protocol. Based on the protocol, those layers are communicated. So you can get some idea about this protocol stack. It has 7 layers: application, presentations, the third one sessions, transport, network layer, and data link layer, and the physical layer. So based on this layer, we treat our information bitwise, frame-wise, packet-wise, segment-wise, and the data-wise. If you pay your attention, it will be depth for this OSI model or 7-layer model. If you look this application layer, when you pay attention for this area, you can see the functionality. As example, resource sharing, remote file access, remote print access, and directory services, and network management stuff will belong to this application layer. Those are kind of functions belong to this application layer. This application serves as a window for the users and application process to the access to network services. This kind of end user layer, this application is application layer, we call as the end user layer. We call as the end user layer. And programs that open what was sent or create what is to be sent. So it's kind of a layer which is close to the users. Therefore, we can consider it as the end user layer. When you pay attention for the presentation layer, encryption and decryption functionalities are carried out in this presentation layer. Character code translations, data conversion, data compression, and data encryptions functions are accomplished below this presentation layer. Then if you switch back to this session layer, it allows session established between the processes the running on different stations. Keep in mind that this layer allows session establishment between the processors running on the different stations. Under this functionality, session establishment, maintenance and terminations, session supports, and perform the security and name recognitions. Those activities will initialize in this session layer. So if you pay attention for the transport layer, that ensure that the messages are delivered error-free in sequence within no loss or duplications. This is the basic functionality of the transport layer. Under this TCP, host of flow control is accomplished, especially message segmentations, message acknowledgement, message traffic controlling, and session multiplexing functions are carried out in this transport layer. So when you pay attention for the network layer, control the operation of the subnet, deciding which physical path the data takes, especially routing, subnetting traffic controlling, frame fragmentations, and logical physical address mapping. Subnetting functions are defined or belongs to this network layer. When you go for the data link layer, you can pay attention for the data link layer. And if you read this information, you can get some idea. It provides the error-free transfer or data frame from one node to another over the physical layer. Under this, establish and terminate of the logical link between nodes, frame tracking controls, frame sequencing, frame acknowledgement. Those functions are carried out under this or supporting in the data link layer. Then we'll go to the last layer we call the physical layer. It concerns with the transmission and the reception of the unstructured raw bit stream over the physical medium. It might be a wired or wireless. The data encoding, physical medium attachment, transmission technique, and baseband or broadband techniques belongs to this physical layer. In this OSI layer, it controls is passed from the one layer to the next, starting at the, as you know, the layer 7 application in one station, proceeding to the succeeding bottom layer, and so until the information reach layer 1. Then the information transmitted over the channel to the next station layer 1 and transmitted to succeed in the layer till information delivered to the layer 7. Each layer in OSI model does the job for the previous layer. Keep in mind that each layer in the OSI model does the job for the previous layer and also add prefix information termed as the header. The data link layer adds some suffix called the cyclic redundancy check as a tailer, which is used to error detections. Keep in mind that each layer in the OSI model does the job for the previous layer and adds some prefix information term as the header, we call the header. The prefix we call the header. And the data link layer at some suffix also called the cyclic redundancy check as a tailer, which is used for the error detections. Therefore, keep in mind that each layers in OSI model does the job for the previous layer, as I mentioned previously. Then I'll go to the next slide. TCP IP model. Previously, we have discussed about the OSI model, and based on that one, this TCP IP model was introduced. This was developed in 1960 as a part of the US Department of the Defense. Today, it's the main protocol which used in all internet operations. As you know, the TCP IP also layered protocol. Keep in mind that as a previous we have discussed about the OSI model, that one also layered protocol, but does not use all the OSI layer, but we discussed previously. So the layers are equivalent in the operation and function similar to the OSI model. So we will see what are the layers. So when you consider the TCP IP model, you have 5 layers called the application layer, transport, or we call the host-to-host layer, internet layer, network interface or link layer, and the physical layer. We have defined some 4 layers. So you can compare these two models. The first one represents the OSI model. It has 7 layers. And compare with this 7-layer model, you can see this TCP IP protocol have 4 layers: application layer, host-to-host layer, internet layer, and the network interface layer. So some layers which are belong to the OSI model has merged into single layer as shown in this TCP IP protocol layer. Just look, some layers has merged. For example, layer 2 and layer 1 operations are merged as the network interface. From layer 5 to 7 in TCP model introduced as the application layer. When you consider the network interface layer, it encompasses the data link and the physical layer of the OSI model. This is the interface to the actual network hardware. As you know, the responsible for the placing TCP/IP packet on the network medium and receiving of the network medium. This TCP/IP was designed to independent of the network access method for this Ethernet, token ring and the frame, relay, etc. It's kind of unreliable network interface layer is assumed. Reliable communication is the responsibility of this transport layer. When you pay attention for the internet layer, as you've seen in previous slides, the responsibility of this internet layer is source destination packet delivery. Keep in mind that the main responsibility for this internet layer is responsible for source to destination packet delivery. You can see here, this is the main responsibility for the internet layer. This layer provides some logical addressings, routing from source to destination, and managing traffic problem and maintaining the quality of the services. This IP or Internet Protocol is the most important protocol in TCP/IP suite. In addition to that, some other protocols are used. We call the ARP, ICMP, IGMP. So this ARP we call the Address Resolution Protocol, ICMP we call the Internet Control Message Protocol, and the IGMP we call the Internet Group Management Protocol. So we will see the functionality of this three other protocols. Under this internet layer, we have discussed of this IP routing and router terms. Those are very important and interesting and relevant for this internet layer. As you know, IP means the internet protocol. It's a routable protocol and responsible for the IP addressing, routing, and the fragmentation reassembly of the packets. Keep in mind that this internet protocol is a routable protocol which is responsible for IP addressing, routing, and the fragmentation and the assembly of the packet. This IP address is logical address for the computer or device on a network. Keep in mind that to identify the users or the devices, we have used some IP. This kind of logical address defined or given by the network administrator or the service providers for the computer or the device on a network. This IP address can be used to unique identity hosts in a network. With the support of this IP, we can do some unique identity or identification for the host which is connected for the network. IP routing means, when you go for the third paragraph, the ability to route an IP packet across a different physical network with direct approach in the forwarding over the network. Simple definition for the IP routing. As you know, the routers, third paragraph, router are dedicated devices which interconnect the network of the world. As you know, if you have internet connections, you are getting the support of the routers. With the support of the router, kind of gateway, with the support of that router, you can connect to the world or the internet. The routers are responsible for passing the IP packet along from the source to destination across the various interconnection paths. There might be some different connections. With the support of the routing tables, we can route it. The routers are dedicated devices, keep in mind that, which interconnect the network of the world, and these routers are responsible for passing the IP packets along from the source to destination across the various interconnection paths. Each routers that an IP packet passes through the referred to as the hoop. Each routers that an IP packet passes through is referred to as the hoop or hoop, HOP, hoop. So when you pay attention for the internet layer protocol stack, you can find some different fields. You have some version, that version indicates the IP versions, IP6 or something like that. And in addition to that version, you have we call the IHLO internet header length that shows the total size of the IP packet header. And you have another allocation type of service which define the delay, throughput, and reliability requirement of the packets. So kind of information flowing from the central network. The total length is indicate the entire packet size, including the header and data bytes. In addition to that, you have a field we call the flag. The flag used to control or identify the fragments. The next field we call the TTL. It's kind of maximum no hoop or packet can transfer between the source and destination host. In addition to that, you have a header checksum, source IP address, destination address, and the protocol. Different headers are there. So if you read this slide, you can get some idea for what they use these different headers. To establish the better communication with the two hosts, you have defined some appropriate protocol with having a good information to add some reliability for the transfer packet. So to achieve that one, you have some different headers, kind of format. Both parties know and the networkers know these headers, and based on that one, you can route your packets to the appropriate destinations. When you pay attention for the transport layer, it provides services such as the connection-oriented data stream, support reliability, flow control, and multiplexing. This is the main functionality, the function in the transport layer. It provides services such as connection-oriented data stream, support reliability, flow control, and multiplexing. To provide this service, there are two primary protocols they use, called the TCP and UDP. TCP we call the Transition Control Protocol. Transition Control Protocol. And UDP we introduce as the User Datagram Protocol. So we will see the features of this TCP and UDP. If you pay attention for the UDP, simple protocol and lightweight transport protocol providing the minimum services, as well as keep in mind that the important thing is kind of connectionless service. TCP is a connection oriented, but UDP is connectionless service. Therefore, we have concern about the reliability, no reliability. And keep in mind that no flow control, as well as no congestion control. It's kind of connectionless service, therefore, reliability is questionable. Reliability is questionable. But it's very fast, especially in this UDP used for the voice over IP communication. And DNS, DHCP, SNMP, those are running with the support of the UDP protocol. It's kind of connectionless service. And fast and efficient for the less data, especially less sensitive application. If you want to do the video call or something, you can carry it out, or you can configure your communication with UDP. Sometimes there might be some packet loss, but you can get some idea, or you can guess about what you are communicating. But reliability is questionable. Reliability is questionable. This is the UDP protocol header. So if you pay attention for this slide, you have a source port that indicates the port of sending process. It is the port which reply should be addressed. And you have another port we call another field we call the destination port. Specify the port of the destination process on the destination hot. When you transfer some packet to the destinations, it might have some address or the port. This destination port field we refer to put that information. In addition to that, you can find some length field of this datagram, including the header length. In addition to that, you have a field called checksum. It's kind of optional 16-bit checksum over the header. If you pay attention for the TCP, it's kind of point-to-point reliable communication. It's provide the full duplex or bidirectional data flow in the same connections. As well as keep in mind that this TCP is the connection-oriented protocol. As well as the flow control also be there. The pipelining or VPN configurations you can do with the support of this TCP. Especially this pipelining we are using the VPN configurations. So this is the TCP protocol stack or the format for the TCP frame. You can see here there is an allocation for the source port, destination port. To manage the flow control, it has some sequence number, and to recover the packet loss or any issues, they have acknowledgement number. So different fields are there, especially in TCP. If you compare with the UDP segment structure, if you compare the UDP one and the TCP one, you can see some important fields are there. Sequence number to control the flow or the sequence. And to detect the errors or something, you have a checksum field. For example, you have noticed that there was a source port. It identified the sending application, and you have noticed that the destination port field that identifies the destination application. And similarly, you have noticed that the sequence number in the frame structure or the stack, which used to assemble segment data in the proper order at the receiving end. Sometimes some packet is go on the different path. In between source to destination, your packet might follow the different routes. Therefore, different delay might be there. To rearrange the order or the sequence, you have to refer the sequence number. With the support of the sequence number, you can reassemble it in order to properly. Otherwise, if you not reassemble properly, your information might be wrong. In addition to that, you have noticed the acknowledgement number, the sequence number, sender expect the next. Once you receive the one packet, then send express some another number or sequence that one represent or that one is stored on the acknowledgement number. Data offset field, you will get some service or support. It support the site to give some information, kind of the size of the TCP header, and it also the offset from the start to TCP packet to the data portion. So you have another reserved field for the future works. So it's open. The protocol is open. The structure is open for the future. They have some reserve area also. Technology will be changed time to time. The requirements are changing. Therefore, if some new requirements were born or they have noticed, then they have to cater those requirements. To cater those future needs or the requirements, we have to provide some provisions in the frame structure. This reserved area we can use near future. The reason is, as you know, everything is changing fastly, very fastly. Therefore, this type of reservation is compulsory for the future. Otherwise, you can't use this protocol. You have to introduce another new protocol. But if you allocate some provision, you have a chance to use this format for another couple of years. Otherwise, you have to introduce a new protocol. You had forget this all previous architectures. Therefore, this result feels very interesting for the future expansions. In addition to that, you have noticed there were flag field. So it's kind of informations are there. Just read this one, and you have noticed that the window, the number of byte sender willing to receive starting from the acknowledgement field. So I forgot, just please put your name to the chat box, name and register number for the chat box as the attendance. Please just put your name and the register number for the chat box. Then I'll take that one as attendance. If somebody is absent, we will address later on, no problem. But this time it's better to take some attendance to show considerable amount is participate for the lecture. Otherwise, no evidence for me. Therefore, just put your name and register number. But I can give access, no problem. If you don't have internet or if you don't have a good signal strength, you can't do this online. Or if you don't have a smart device, you can't do this one. So we can use some excuse, no problem. For some time, I have heard that one of the students called me, he's in the Gampola. He told me today they don't have power. Then there's a power cut, then how you join for the lectures? So you can't do that. No problem. We can manage it, okay? No problem, we can manage it. We will find a solution for that later on. But don't worry, those who are participating for the lecture, just put your register number. And keep in mind that I put the previous 2 lectures to the YouTube. If you're interested, you can go to the YouTube and search Saman Dadalage, then you can find that 2 videos. This lecture also I'll put to the YouTube, you can easily download. And later on I will put that one to the LMS also. But for my easiness, I just upload for the YouTube from here, for my easiness. But later on I will submit or put that one to LMS. Just search the Saman Dadalage, then you can find the previous lectures on the YouTube. When you pay attention for the TCP connection, it has 3 phases. Firstly, you have to establish the connection. Once you acknowledge for the connection, then you can transfer the data. Once you finish your transition part, then you have to terminate the connections. So in the TCP connections, there are 3 phases. Connection establishment, it's kind of 3-way handshake. I'll show you. And once you got the connection, or if you establish the connections, then you can start to transmit the data. Once you complete the transition part, then you have to terminate the connection. That one also 3-way handshake mechanism, I'll show you. For example, you can see here, you are sending some acknowledgement, and then those B's send the response for that one. Then you can establish the connection. It's 3-way communication. Host A is sent to TCP synchronized for the packet to the host B, and then host B receive that synchronized message, and B send the synchronized acknowledgement message, and then host A received acknowledgement, and then A send the acknowledgement, and then B receive that acknowledgement, and then TCP socket connection established for your communication. Kind of three-way handshake mechanism that will help to improve the reliability of the packet transmission. It's reliable communication as well as connection oriented one. You can see the message flow. It's kind of three-way handshaking. So in the transport layer, we define some ports based on the different applications, as well as those ports are belongs to the transport layer, and then different ports are support for the different protocol. Might be support for TCPO, UDPO, sometimes it might support for the both UDP and TCP. Especially FTP data, FTP control, telnet, DNS server handling, POP3 handling, HTTPS, and dynamic host control protocol. So different based on different applications, these ports are allocated. So you can see this table. These ports are belong to the transport layer, and different application use different port number. Those are allocated for the appropriate applications. You can get some idea. So by looking at this table, just to know, just read, that's enough. Keep in mind that different ports are assigned for the different protocol and the application. You can see some examples in this table. Then we will go to the application layer. You can go for the application layer. Where the network application and their applications layer protocol reside, and provide the application with the ability to access the internet. As example, HTTP, which provide for the web document request and transfer, and this FTP, or we call the file transfer protocol, which provide for the transfer the files between the two end systems. And another protocol which is belong to application layer, we call the SMTP, or simple mail transfer protocol, which will support for the email messages. Another protocol belong to application layers, we call the telnet, is running for program remotely and remote administration. As you know, there are some softwares to handle the remote access of the host or whatever devices. This telnet protocol will help for the remote administration or remote control of the host or whatever destinations. These are some examples belong to this application layer. Some protocols, well famous protocols belongs to this application layer. As example, you can see here the telnet will support for the port 3, the transport layer. So just read this, just read. The SOLA belongs to the application layer protocol. Application layer protocol. Just to know, just read, get some idea, that's enough. As example, DNS resolve the IP addressing in the domain as a domain. FTP allow the file transfer between the computers. And DHCP, or we call dynamic host control protocol, assign IP addresses to the host from the pool and can send the IP addresses, subnet mask, domain name, informations. So those are some protocol which are belong to this application layer. As I mentioned previously, we are talking about this TCP, not the OSI, this model. So I'm discussing about this TCP/IP protocol layer. You had application layer, you had transport, internet and the network interface. I discussed about these 4 layers. So just read. You can find some book or you can find some internet articles or PDF books and just read and familiar with this protocol and see how they are operating. So next week I will discuss those stuff, but better to read some book. Then you have a good idea. So I stop today lecture and just put your registration number to the chat box. And tomorrow 8:30 I will do the next session for you. Have a nice day.